Welcome to the Jordan Maxwell Files. Please check Jordan Maxwell books, The Reptilians, on Amazon.com.
When we return, frightening tales of extraterrestrial implants from their human victims.
They actually told me, leave it alone or I'll die.
Poll, as many as 5 million people actually believe they have been abducted by UFOs. Recently, we brought you a story that detailed the psychological impact of these abductions.
You know, there seem to be physical consequences as well. Many victims are convinced that their alien abductors have left implants in their bodies. They believe these devices are part of some ongoing biological experiment. Here's our story. In Los Angeles, 5 patients are waiting to undergo radiological tests. All are anxious, but for Alice Haggerty, the results could be truly frightening. For Alice is about to discover whether she's been implanted with an alien device. Alice is not alone. In New Jersey, Richard Price has confronted his worst nightmare.
We saw a doctor. He verified that it was there. He viewed it for himself, measured it, and it was below the skin at the time. But you could see it. It protruded enough so that you could see that there was something there.
In North Carolina, extensive brain scans located a strange object, apparently embedded in Colette Dowell's brain, an object she was somehow able to sense.
I distinctly said, look at the intersection of these grid lines. So he started taking the MRI in many slices of my brain, and when the film came back, we stood there and we were all stunned because there showed a 3-millimeter luminous object. And he looked at me and he said, the odds against this are 1,000,000,000 to 1 that you could localize this and something would show up. And at that moment, I said, this is really real. This is really real. And I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be alive.
Psychologist David Jacobs has been studying the alien abduction phenomenon for 12 years.
Most abductees will talk about extraordinary situations whereby something will be inserted way up their nose, very, very high up. They'll hear a crunching sound as it kind of goes past the cartilage, and then it's removed, and whatever might have been on the end, a little ball-like object, for instance, of the instrument that was placed in her nose, is no longer there.
Because Alice thinks her implant is in her sinus, her doctor focuses a fluoroscope on her head. Anatomically, her experience differs from that of Richard Price. Richard is certain that somehow aliens placed a device just under his skin.
When they were actually putting the implant under the skin, he used some type of a needle that was connected to what I can now call, I believe, a computer of some sort. And he used this with a beeping noise that he heard to follow and underneath the skin while he was kind of what I always called hooking things up and under the skin. It was like they were taking connectors or some type of wires, as I call them, and hooking them up to places and underneath the skin for some reason. Possibly they were trying to get to nerve endings. They helped me put my clothes back on, and one of them came over to me and told me in English, they actually told me, leave it alone or I'll die.
Well, the question, first of all, is, are people lying? And very often we have multiple abductions. We have people seeing other people being abducted, and the other person might not even know that they were abducted, and their own experiences will come out later with an independent hypnotist or analyst, and they then see the other person who had originally told the story. That's very difficult to explain in psychological terms.
Equally difficult to explain is the purpose of these implants.
Well, we really don't know what an implant is. Some people think it's a locator device. Some people think that it monitors bodily functions in some way. My guess is that if it's there, that it's an extremely complicated device that probably is multifunction.
This implant often buzzes and gives me messages to, I think basically they give me messages to pull over. It's time to be abducted now. Sometimes I'll be at home washing dishes or something like that, and all of a sudden I get the message, go outside. It's time.
Alice's tests are now over. The radiologist is ready with his diagnosis.
She has some fatty tissue in this region, which we see here, and there's an arrow pointing to that. But I don't see any sort of a metallic foreign body in this region.
It does not surprise me that there is no metallic objects in my head. I believe that they're more organic, or even a type of plastic than metal.
If there is an implant in Alice's head, it's still there. But Richard Price is lucky. His implant worked its way out of his body.
I jumped like I had gotten an electrical shock. When I noticed it wasn't there, I saw it sticking between my finger and my thumb. I took and I put it inside of a container, eventually a clear container, and that's where it stayed until the scientist had a chance to look at it for himself.
Now, for the first time, scientists are able to analyze what may be direct evidence of alien contact with human beings. Dr. David Pritchard of MIT was the scientist chosen to analyze Richard's implant.
His recollection included physical information about this alleged implant, namely its rough size and the fact that it had little wires coming out of it, which he alleged were connected to him.
He took a number of photos that showed some of the wires, as I call them, that stick off of it. One of them has the black line onto it. This is the piece that I have that I mentioned before, and here you see the black line that's onto it.
And when I looked at it under a microscope, I saw these little, I call them appendages, which is a more neutral term than wires, sticking out of it, and I said, well, that confirms his story, at least it's consistent with his story. You know, I'll work on this.
See the layering here.
The artifact looked genuine, but what was it made of? Dr. Pritchard used a technique called mass spectrometry to find out. What were your findings?
You know, we could have found super heavy elements, or we could have found elements that are very rare on Earth, which would tend to suggest that perhaps this was made by extraterrestrials, and we didn't find any of those. We found absolutely nothing at that point that suggested that it was extraterrestrial, and all the evidence suggested that these were fragments of biological molecules that we were seeing.
Could extraterrestrials be crafting implants out of human biological materials, or are they nothing more than scar tissue? No matter what the explanation, thousands of people are convinced there is something strange inside their bodies, something terrifying.
No matter what an implant is, it's always going to go into debate if it's recovered. Could it be made on Earth? Could it be made with earthly materials? And the answer invariably is going to probably be yes. Consequently, it's never going to be a clear-cut situation. People want a sort of smoking gun implant. They want an artifact that will prove once and for all that the abduction phenomenon and the UFO phenomenon is real.
Senator, why can't these objects simply be found and surgically removed?
John, these abductees claim the implants are embedded so deeply that surgery would be impossible. And many of them believe that any technology sophisticated enough to insert these implants could also make them out of organic materials.
And that would make them almost impossible to find. We'll be back in a moment.
Welcome to the Jordan Maxwell Files. Please check Jordan Maxwell books, The Reptilians, on Amazon.com.